Let's talk about rain sensors and the common questions that people may have. I've got a mini click rain sensor here hooked up on the wall connected to a Pro C controller. And a rain sensor, the basic idea is that when it gets wet, it has discs inside that expand, and when the discs expand, it opens the circuit on the controller, thus giving you your sensor off message. The basic parts here is the rain sensor. It's two wires that run out to it from the controller. You've got a rain sensor bypass and active switch, and inside the controller is where the two wires hook up to the two sensor terminals. It's very important if you want to utilize the rain sensor to have the rain sensor switch in the active position. If you're in bypass, it will ignore any input from the rain sensor. So one of the common questions is, it rained last night and my sprinklers came on this morning. What's going on? I just installed the rain sensor and it's not working. One of the reasons it may not be operating is the bypass switch is in the bypass position. You want to make sure that it is inactive. If it was in bypass, the controller was ignoring the rain sensor. 2 inches, 4 inches of rain does not matter. It's not going to turn the controller off. So you must have the switch in the active position. Now the second easy check for that solution is to make sure that when you installed the rain sensor, you removed the chrome jumper tab, which connects the two sensor terminals. These rain sensors are called normally closed circuit. So when the controller comes from the factory, it has a small chrome jumper tab that connects the two sensor terminal screws together in lieu of a rain sensor. If you install the rain sensor two wires out to the sensor and you leave the jumper tab in there, this sensor can get wet, the discs can expand, it can open the circuit all day long, but if that chrome jumper tab is still in place, the circuit will never open. So you want to make sure that you remove the chrome jumper tab. Now one of the other common questions is, my display says sensor off all the time. If your controller always says sensor off, one of the things that you'll want to look at is, remember, this is just an extended circuit. It goes out to the sensor and it comes back. The wires that leave the controller, if those are damaged or they're cut, that means the circuit is open. The disc might be getting wet and swelling and opening and closing himself, but if he's not connected all the way back to the controller, that two-wire circuit is now open and there's your sensor off message. First thing you want to look at is, well, it says sensor off, so let's go to bypass. Does the controller work normally? If it does, you know your controller is good to go, and you have to look at the rain sensor circuit. If it still says sensor off when you're in the active position, you can locate the chrome jumper tab that you pulled out back in the day, reinstall it, and remove your two wires. If you don't have the jumper tab, you can take a small piece of wire, 3 or 4 inches long, get rid of your sensor wiring, and simply install a jumper wire from sensor to sensor terminal to complete that circuit, to complete the loop. Once your jumper tab is installed and you go over to active, that means your circuit is complete and the sensor off message should go away. Really, it's just a basic circle circuit out to the sensor, and when the sensor gets wet, the discs expand and it opens up that circuit, causing the sensor off message in the display. If at any time you want to test it, just go to the sensor and hold this button down. What you're doing is you're manually opening the circuit, and you should get off sensor or SIN off in your display. When you release, it should go back to the current time of day. So here's how to actually test the fact that the sensor is working once it's already installed. On Hunter controllers, you have two ways to turn a zone on. Now you may have just installed the sensor and you're thinking, I want to test this thing and make sure it works. There's two ways to operate a station. The first way is under manual single station. The other way to operate a station is under manual all stations. This controller has the manual all station here with the right arrow. The manual single station feature is just for one station only. Now here's the key part. Under manual single station, it will always water. No matter what you do with the sensor, you can run out and try to push the button and try to interrupt the watering. On manual single station, it will always water and never be interrupted. The only way that you're going to interrupt water with your rain sensor is under manual all stations. So if you have a manual all station on your dial, that feature, you want to go to manual all stations, and you'll want to make sure that you've got a couple of stations with runtime there. Just go back to the run position and it'll start the entire program. That mimics a regular pre-programmed start. and the rain sensor should interrupt during mid-watering. The manual all stations are programmed. If you go to manual single station, that is a single command of that one station to turn on, and it will always turn on. So if you do manual single and you go to your sensor, it's not going to turn it off. So to test the sensor, you'll go to manual all stations, and in this controller we're going to use the right arrow to access that feature by holding down the right arrow, and station 1 is running. Now we have a program running. If I go to the sensor, I hold down the button, and you'll see the word off displayed in the screen. By letting go of the button, it will go back to running that station.